Well, hello all. It's Game Methuselah again. I know you guys are eventually getting bored hearing from me because I'm going to be talking about this game a lot. I also want to point out that it's just not me. I mean, we've been really lucky. I have a writing partner, Steve Key. We work out great together because even though we're very different in our approaches and thoughts on the game, the two things tend to mesh a lot, and we end up grinding the point down where we get things that are suiting both of our desires and thusly a lot faster, which allows much more RPG to be played instead of just spending all the hours just rolling encounters and battles and everything like that. And the more we've played it now well over a year, we keep perfecting it, but still every day out there, there's more things that we keep finding to change. For the people who are doing the playtesting, just want to give you a heads up. One thing I'd like to ask you to try right away. We went back to using the concept of the 3 core dice. Those are the only dice you could make double nines on. So in my case, I have red dice. I follow it up like black dice. So if I'm rolling 4 dice or 5 dice because I got a really big advantage on something, I roll them. If the 2 D9s come up on red, great. That's an enlightenment. If one comes up on red, one comes up on black, that's not. So I'm not sure. I mean, we've been bantering this back and forth since the conception of the whole idea of the game. I'm vacillating on this. I maybe think all the dice should be involved. The only problem with that is we found that you start getting many more enlightenments. So they become a lot less interesting, a lot less exciting, and more importantly, they drive the characters to be more powerful, faster. Sometimes that boggles up RPG playing, which we didn't want to do. We didn't want it so, you play 4 or 5 or 6 or 8 seasons and suddenly you've got this mega character. And we wanted to see if slowing it down would make the game more exciting. I kind of think it does, but it's just another factor. And, I keep trying to, like I say, we want this to be streamlined and fast. So, I wanted opinions back from you guys out there playing it. Does it seem good? Do you like it? And that point of view. And if you guys want to go off the rails and start playing it with the multiple dice, please do. But the other thing, if you see other rules or other things you want to see in the game, just try them out. Say, hey, look, I did this, I did that, I did something else, and I really like it because it does this, and whatever this might be. That's been fun. And as we get into this, I'd like to find ways to do voice chat. So down the road, we can get all the people doing play testing and get them in there talking so we can find out what people are liking and what people are not. Because, the whole point is there's no point in trying to keep everything quiet and not run the game and not do all the things we're going to do and put out some product that isn't as great as we can make it. Because in the long term, it's going to be your game. I mean, it's going to be all determined by the world and the gaming environment and all the people playing, whether this game is going to be a success or not. So the more I can do to make it as good as possible, obviously the better for me and better for the game to do well. Some people who came back and talked to me said they didn't want to get on Patreon. I mean, they don't want to, and I don't know why. I understand that a lot of times economy is a problem, especially now. So I said, don't worry, we're going to be put it on other formats that you can, download it on. I want to let you know we have done one. Both Scott and Dave have been really excellent at getting us motivated. Steve and I, being sort of Luddites, have not been as good online. And these guys who started playtesting it kind of fell in love with the game and wanting to help us push it out there and get it done so that everyone else could appreciate it, have been really good at getting us on site. So we're going to be on d9-games.itch.io. I put my glasses on so I can read that for sure. d9games.itch.io. If you want to donate on that, it's great. The other advantage on that is that's going to be a potential selling site down the road for a finished product. So these little indie game sites, I think, will be very helpful in helping us get the game out there to as many people as possible without having to wait for a printed book, which is, of course, what we want to do. I mean, obviously, that's the great thing to have something hard in your hands, especially for an old guy like me who loves books and doesn't really care for that much for social media. And get out there and appreciate the beautiful art and all the things that come with a book. So we're going in that direction, but at the same time, we want to make sure we make this as available to players as we possibly can. To that end, I wanted to also know, if you noticed as you are playtesting this, might have noticed that my font looks a little odd. Now, this was brought up to me by, again, Dave and Scott, where he said, hey, are you aware there's a dyslexic font? And well, being dyslexic, I said, no, I didn't. But it really intrigues me because obviously this has been a major problem throughout my entire life, to basically have, I'm not going to say a disability, but having something that impairs your ability to always be at your best. So he sends me the font. I'm sitting here reading it. He puts up a whole page of our game rules in the font, and I'm reading it, and I'm like, that's amazing. It actually is substantially easier for me to read. Why don't we just use that? So other people out there with, obviously this, will be able to play and read easier, or wondering, well, should we produce any merch and get things out there to people? So and the first thing, of course, everybody wanted is a shirt. Somebody did a little design to what a shirt would look like. And I said, well, look, if we're going to do a shirt and you're going to put it out there, I don't think we can give it away because obviously we don't have any economy and there's no big company backing us up on this. I said maybe people would actually want to have a shirt up front. And I said, if that's going to be the case, we got to make it a playtester shirt. So the idea of a playtester shirt would be that once we're wildly successful or we're on the dust heap pile of bad games, somebody will have a shirt say, hey, look, I got this old shirt that I did playtesting for this game back, long ago in the dark ages. And it could be hip because I've got all these old t-shirts. And every time I wear something out, people are like, wow, I can't believe you have that shirt, especially when they look at my age. I mean, the other day I was walking around, 4 guys were gaming in a shop, and I had my Magic the Gathering blue denim jacket on with the Nightmare on the back and my name and game company, my old retail hobby shop that I owned back, printed on the front. And a guy looks up and goes, geez, a Magic the Gathering jacket from way back. And he's like, do you know how much that jacket's worth? And I'm like, well, more likely a lot less because my name's on it. But yeah, I get the idea. Sometimes some things like that, people just like vintage stuff. And well, being vintage, I have a lot of vintage stuff down the little D9 game at Itch. So you guys can, find connections to that. And feedback to me on anything else you're interested in or anything else you're finding already in the game or any questions and we're really excited about it. So I think we're going to be on it this week. Obviously on Friday, we'll be playing again. And I think I'm going to tell everyone to prep up for next week to go to Mega Heroes to get to the point where I want to start pushing the game to the very top level. Because as you will find as you're starting to run this, that monsters are substantially tougher than you might be used to in other games. A 10th level monster in this game is really nasty. I mean, your starting characters, even characters you've played for maybe a few months, you don't want to run into something high level. I mean, for a DM, it's really nice because you find that the little low level monsters still put up a substantially good challenge. They make it for a very dramatic effect. And because the game plays very quickly, you can run hordes of orcs and interesting stuff. I mean, I had run a battle where there was a small dragon and I think a bucket load of kobolds. I mean, a bucket. I think well over 70 or 80 miniatures I had. The dragon had a lot of kobold allies. Now, they were the worst of the worst, but, quantity has a quality of its own sometimes in battles, and it was a real challenging event. So, keep gaming. Let me know what you're thinking. If you're thinking about getting it in, I'm going to be starting to do quick videos now coming up on character generation and actually die rolling playing. And so I can start showing you just things that work and get going quickly. You can look at some of the characters I've jotted up, some of the things I recommend. If you want to go higher level in characters, please do. We've started guys at characters in the 200, 250 point, 300 point range. But understand, the disadvantage to a character starting higher level is they have no enlightenments. So the enlightenments really strengthen the character. I had a low-level character. It was only 2 seasons who had gotten lucky and got a couple enlightenments. And he ended up being the bodyguard for my high-level magic user in a game battle against the Medusas. And he held his own and more than held his own in the fight. So there's a nice feel like the old AD&D and the old RPGs from the 70s where it's not necessarily just what character and what abilities you get from the game book and stuff. It's what you do with it. And that's what I wanted. I wanted an RPG feel that harkens back to the idea that, like Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson wanted, look, we're going to give you a skeleton frame to play. We're obviously going to give you a lot more than that. All kinds of suggestions on things that you might want to do if you can't think of specials to do, or if you can't think of enlightenments to use, or whatever. But truthfully, I think the real strength of this game is, as people grow and get into the game, they're going to want to make up their own enlightenments. They're going to want to make their characters unique as possible, and that's what we really want. So hopefully you'll see that, and when we get into the play, there'll be a lot of people, I'm sure, who are going to not care for it, but at the same time, I'm really hoping there's going to be a realistically large group of people that we're going to like it and see, hey, there is something here, and I want to continue on and keep playing it. So until we have a chance to speak again, which likely will be very soon, fight me devils, fight, for I hate peace. Everybody game on and be safe out there.